played, it was back at Evo. I was sent to losers round one. I lost to this JV player, and I did not play well at all. I played like crap. I was immediately coming from Sam Show and all that like mindset thing. I didn't play well overall. And I had my group with me, my friends, and like Melody, she's never really seen me in like a major tournament, so she didn't really know what to do like to help me feel better. And my friend Matt was saying like knowing Christian, just leave him be. He'll cool off. He'll do good. He'll be all right. But then my friend Carter, who he's never been good at reading a room, he's like, oh no, you just gotta like pat him on the back, just encourage him, and he'll bounce out of it. And he's like, Carter, that's a terrible idea. Do not do that. And I come over, and Carter's like patting me on the shoulder really hard because he's 6 feet and really big. Don't worry, man, you got this. Like, and I don't want to snap at him because he's my friend, but like it was like before point, I'm like, please don't touch me right now.
Hello, and welcome to the Absolute Guard Podcast. We're a competitive fighting game community podcast examining history and current events from the lens of the Arizona grassroots scene.
Yes, welcome. This is episode 77. My name is Benny. I was absent last week, but I am back. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host, John. And today we have TheXButton and CYA with us today. How's it going, fellas?
Doing good.
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks for having us again.
Yeah.
Yep. Always a pleasure. So today we were going to be talking a little bit about kind of basically tournaments in general, because March has been a pretty busy month for some of us. John hasn't entered any of these tournaments, but
I'm not.
Yeah, but anyway, we've had quite a few tournaments going on. We had so not last weekend, but the weekend prior, about 2 weeks ago, we had a tournament at ASU called Devils Duel. And then we also had a tournament in Tucson being held at the same time that was part of the X Championship Series, sponsored here by TheXButton, the latest down to the wire tournament. So we wanted to talk a little bit about those. So we had the Devils Duel, as they called it, at ASU. Christian here, CYA, was at that tournament. And one of the other things, actually, just give us a little brief rundown of kind of your experience there at the Devils Duel.
Yeah, I knew I wouldn't be able to make the Tucson tournament that weekend, and I ended up finding out about that tournament last minute. So I was just really curious to see what ASU Street Fighter scene was like, if anything, if there even is one. But it was a great time. Enjoyed it a lot. Got some good competition. Made second. Lost to a really strong Aki player, that Blaze Deathblade, who I hope comes out to more stuff, because it was a great fighting. It was a good time.
Yeah, so Blaze Deathblade is actually somebody that we've kind of all been curious about in the Spiral Series Discord. Like, I've run into him multiple times. I haven't seen him lately, but I ran into him multiple times. I think the first time I played him, I split ranked matches with him, and then the next time I ran into him, he was just destroying me. And I think Sabres ran into him. And I don't know about have you guys run into him at all in ranked?
I don't play ranked that often, so no, I haven't.
Oh, gotcha.
I actually never ran into him before. I never heard of him until that tournament.
Yeah, so I mean, we were I brought it up just because, like, there's other clubs on Street Fighter 6, and he's part of the one that's called, I think, Arizona FGC. And so there's other people out there that, that are part of that club. And like a lot of times people will just ask about them, and nobody knew who that person was. And then, Christian was at that tournament. Who else was at that tournament too? I thought there was somebody else from the group.
Honorable. I think he's in the chat right now. Yeah, he was there, and a few other guys. For one more person from that goes to TGZ, AZ Young. Elijah.
Elijah. Yeah, Elijah.
Yes,
I don't know if you call him Ethan, but
yeah, the Ryu player. Yeah, he was there as well.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah, because like that was the one thing. I was just like, we saw that Blaze Deathblade was registered, and we're like, oh, we have a sighting there, like a live person sighting. It almost sounds like we're like finding aliens or something. But But it's awesome that you got to play him, and then like I remember watching towards the end the set that you guys had, because if I remember right, wasn't it required you to reset, right? Like you reset the finals.
Yeah, he sent me to losers. I just barely got the bracket reset, and then he just barely won the tournament. Last game, last round.
Oh wow.
Yeah. That's what I remembered. Yeah, because I was watching towards that last set, and I was just like, yeah, the commentators were getting hype, and they're like, we're gonna get like a game 10 or whatever, and I'm just like, holy crap! I was like, this is going literally down to the wire. So that was a great final set, and then you did a great job promoting like the local scene that we have here to them. So that was great too.
Yeah, we got a couple people.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, you're fine. Yeah, it's just a couple guys, both Honorable and I were able to get them into the Discord, so that was really cool to see. Definitely hope a lot of them, come out to more events.
Nice.
I caught a little bit of the stream too, and I thought it was very well put together. It seemed like Honorable in particular, I thought he had some really awesome moments on the stream. Like some hype moments with that Marissa play, some sick comebacks, and then Christian, yeah, your play was very solid as always. The reset had me super jazzed, and yeah, I was biting some nails during that fight, especially because it went, as you so aptly put it, Benny, down to the wire. But before we even talk about down to the wire, just to talk a little bit more about Devils Duels, like I had a very it was a very heartening thing to see just how many other people have been playing Street Fighter 6 that I had just never seen before. In particular, because it's a college themed tournament, or it's ASU, like it was run at ASU. So like it was like the next generation of fighting game players essentially that I hadn't really seen in other, like some of the locals here, and it kind of reminded me of like how insular that we could be as the local scene, or whatever kind of scene we've cultivated at the Spiral Series Discord, or like Legacy Arizona players that we just happen to know, or on the Absolute Guard podcast, like it seemed really cool to. It was really cool to just see all these different young players that I'd never heard of that were mixing and matching and learning the different games. Like there were Smash players that I think were giving it a shot, and a lot of modern. I saw a lot of modern on stream too, and I thought that was cool because you don't really see that in our more legacy based classic scene here. We're the classic scene now. I'm gonna call us that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like, to me, like that's always kind of crazy, because like we've cultivated like the Phoenix scene, right? Like, I mean, yeah, there's Gilbert and West Side and whatever you want to call it, but we don't say, I don't say like, oh, me and Maynard are from Chandler. We just, we represent Phoenix, like the large city, right? And then we've got the Tucson scene. Then we know like a good group of people that are from the Yuma scene, and then there's like little people that we've seen in the Facebook group that hey, I'm in Flagstaff, is anybody up here, those kind of
Sierra
things.
Vista.
But
Apache Junction.
Sierra Vista, and you got stuff like that. And then just to know that like ASU is in the middle of Phoenix. There's, I think last time I looked, or when I looked it up, it was like there's like 40,000 people that go to school there, and to think that there's a little group of people there that are playing Street Fighter 2 that we didn't really know about until kind of this couple weeks ago. And it's just like, hey, there's people playing over there too that like we haven't really touched base with at all. So that's pretty awesome to kind of even like see and hear that, and the fact that they're doing tournaments, because a lot of times like for us, like you said, the classic scene, like we'd consider something like that, oh, they're just doing something on campus and it's kind of casual or whatever. And in a sense it kind of is, but at the same time, like you never know the kind of players that you're going to find there, like Blaze Death Blade. He's here killing it in the ranked. Last I saw, he was like probably higher now, 1700 MR, which is nothing to
1900 now.
1900. Yeah, there you go. Even better. Yeah, so it's just like you got people like that are out there that some of us don't know about, and it's just happenstance that you run into them and get your ass kicked, and you're like, who is this? Does anybody know who this is? Trying to find information out.
Yeah, and I also want to make sure like for our tournaments, like, or rather I say our, but like the tournaments that our group frequents, a lot of them are driven by the X button here. The turnout is usually like ranging from 20 to 30 people on a good day, right? And it was surprising. So I kind of expected this ASU tournament to be kind of like a pocket of people, but my understanding is the tournament itself was like 35 people or something. Like it was standard tournament numbers. It just was none of the usual suspects -2 or -3.
Yeah, it was like 25 to 30. I
25
think.
to 30. Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's a
it's
good
really
sized
good.
tournament for a local. Yeah. And again, it's of all in my mind new faces. And I think a little bit about the college point that you made earlier, Benny, in regards to a lot of the FGC that I know locally here was rooted in the UAT, or University of Advancing Technology Fighting Game Club, because they provided a venue for a lot of the Shoryuken people to go to organize and run tournaments there too. So there was like a Ranbat season there. My first tournaments were actually at the University of Advancing Technology. So I felt like an extra bit of nostalgia to be like, oh, look, college kids. I was a college kid once, and now I'm playing their first fighting game tournaments. Actually, I don't even know if it was their first fighting game tournaments. I don't know any of these people. That's what's so cool about it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, good.
Yeah, like coming from like when I was like coaching Smash back at SCU, like that was like such a huge important thing for me, was to take like the guys out to like other locals, really like network also with those locals too, like have these two different groups like know each other. Because what happens a lot of time with, especially with like students, high school, college, is they straight up just don't know about like anything else going on in the scene. When I was talking with Blaze Deathblade after the tournament, he just didn't know really about the rest of the scene here. So like just going out to these places is just such a great opportunity to really like talk to these people and get them into the game more, stick with it.
Yeah, because like I always look at it as like you never know the kind of players that are out there. Like if they're gonna be highly competitive, there's gonna be definitely a lot of casuals and just like, hey, I want to play this, or I want to learn kind of the basics out there. And then you have people that like legit have talent and are good players, and maybe they want to learn more and find maybe they're the best one in ASU, and they're just like, oh, I don't think there's anybody out here that could beat me. And then they run into somebody like Christian and was like, holy shit, this guy's giving me a run for my money. Who's this guy? Right. And they're probably thinking the same thing. So that's always something that's kind of fascinating to me, is kind of like the kind of players that'll come out of that.
I'm sorry. I just
it's been a long day at work. Actually, it's worth calling out for me in particular. I've had a long day at work as well, and so I am having my first glass of whiskey in a very, very long time, and so I will be extra energetic on this podcast episode today. It's a good time, I think.
No, it's all good. I mean, it's technically my weekend, but it's not. I don't know. I work at night, so I get off in the morning, and then I had a flight lesson this morning, so I didn't get home till like noon. And then it's just like, I'm gonna stay up. And then I was just like, no, I need to take a nap because I'm gonna be dead. So I took like an hour and a half nap, and here I am. So I've basically been up since last night.
Jeez. Well, but sounds like you need some whiskey too, or maybe a Red Bull.
Yeah, so I have I don't know what this is. I saw my sister buy it. No, Alani. It's an energy drink. That's what I got. So that's what I got to keep me up for the night. But yeah, speaking of down to the wire, like Christian's final set of Devils Duel, the X button here was at down to the wire at Tucson, and yeah, give us a little bit about what happened there, and then who's the latest qualifier for the X Championship Series.
Yeah, actually, the top four was really hype for down to the wire. In fourth place, we got Driftwood, who I think this is his first time hitting top 8, at least in down to the wire. He's improved a bunch since he started playing more competitively, and he just definitely has a drive for it.
Did he clap?
The drive?
Yes. I want to say he clapped like maybe 3 times that whole tournament.
That's the Benny clap now. It's no longer the Driftwood.
Oh my god! You guys are gonna fight over the clap. I'm phrasing it
sounds
like that.
Terrible.
I know.
No, actually, Nick can have that. That's good.
Yeah. And then we got a Thrasher in third, followed by Big Mac Combo 98 on second, who actually was the one to qualify because even though there was nerfs to JP, Velociraptor still clutched it out and took first and took everybody's money.
Nice.
The big hype things though was like Big Mac Combo going all the way to winners finals and having a great set with Velociraptor before getting sent to the losers final. And then what is it? And then Big Mac Combo coming back, getting the reset in grand finals before getting eliminated by Velociraptor. I want to say the score was, I want to say 3-1 or 3-2 but it was definitely really close. All the matches were all like really tight. It was just always down to the last hit, and it was really cool there. Two other shout outs was Sin B getting 5th. I think this is his first time also hitting top 8 and down to the wire. Sin B buckling it down with Ryu and messing with the Ryu buffs definitely helped him. And he was able to like just beat the crap out of people. His matches were insane. I think he got sent to losers immediately, and that just didn't stop him. He just crushed everybody all the way through until he got to 5th. And then there was a new player that I met there. Never met him before. His name is John, which was kind of funny because Velociraptor also being a John
I saw that,
made some people like, wait, did John enter twice?
Yeah.
Or is John playing Luke now? But no, it was a different guy. I don't have webcam set up, so I can't really show the differences between these two. But yeah, John beating him for his first time. Great performance and hitting top 8 right off the bat with Luke.
Nice.
Yeah,
so what was I gonna say? I was gonna say, in terms of like Velociraptor winning, I think that's a testament to him as a player. Like he's always been a top player in our scene since 4 when he was playing Goken, and then even in 5 when he was playing Nakali. Despite any kind of changes that happened to Nakali, like he was, still consistently one of the better players in our scene. And then, same thing with JP. Like I didn't think the amnesia change was going to really kind of deter him from playing JP or even really affect him too much. I mean, yeah, it was a great thing for JP at the time, but I mean, I didn't think it was a big enough nerf to basically nerf John's skill or something that he couldn't overcome as a player. So I'm not surprised by that. I was going to say the thing with Nick. Like, so I'm a little surprised and not surprised by Nick showing. And I say I'm surprised just because like I wasn't sure how much he would put into this game. Like, and I'm not surprised because knowing Nick's a very competitive person. And if he wants to put the time into it and if he's enjoying the game, like I kind of almost expect that from him. And like I only expect him to get better with time. The more that he puts into it, like I think he posted in the Discord, he just recently hit like 1700 MR. So, he's definitely finding his groove, and that's a scary thing for some of us.
Yeah. Shout outs to Nick. I think one of the big moments there was he put Thrasher into losers. He beat him 2-0, if I recall correctly.
Damn.
Yeah.
I believe he also made Thrasher switch characters. I want to say it was actually later in the bracket because it was a first to 3. I want to say he went 0-2 with Jury and then he switched characters. I just can't remember who he swapped to because it was
Kimberly.
yes, that was what it was.
So I was watching the stream, and I hate to correct you on that one, May, but so in the winners bracket match, he beat Mike's Jury 1-0, and then Mike switched to Kimberly and then lost immediately because I think Mike was just like, I want to be able to show him I can beat him with my ult. So I'm calling you out here, Mike, for that was a stupid ass idea. And then later on in the losers bracket, they did meet later on. And I think Mike took that pretty decisively. So Mike got his run back. He got his run back. He got his revenge. And then Driftwood got his high placing out of that. He got his upset. So I think everybody walked away feeling pretty good about that. I do want to do some cross promotion here, and the Driftwood has been on the show on Absolute Guard Podcast episode 10. So that was a long time ago.
Man,
September 2022. Yeah.
But for those of you that don't,
oh my gosh.
for those of you that don't know him, he was one of the basically one of the best players here for Street Fighter 4 with his Fei Long. He played a little bit of 5 early on with Karen, and then he just kind of stopped playing. But yeah, looks like if he's gonna play 6, definitely a name to look out for.
Yep, agree.
Yep.
And we actually talked about him briefly on the last episode too. We were talking about competitive drive because while he may be rusty or may not have like a lot of intricate knowledge of 6, he's also competed at some of the highest levels in 4. And so he has that killer mindset and can apply that to a tournament bracket at will. Yeah.
He definitely is he's definitely the type to study and to learn from his mistakes, learn from his opponents, and he has that that drive to improve. Like, yeah. So if he's gonna continue, yeah, like it's gonna be a force to be reckoned with.
I mean, even outside of Street Fighter, he's also a fencer, and I believe
Yeah.
The previous Down to the Wire in February, he couldn't make it because he was actually at another fencing tournament.
Yeah.
So going from real life fighting to in-game fighting, he's been performing really well. So
Yeah.
good stuff.
And we
for
did
Driftwood.
talk about that in the episode that we did have him on. So if you wanna learn more about that, tune into that previous episode.
For sure.
I also
And,
want to
good.
continue on my cross promotion strategy here, and that Velociraptor, who won the tournament, was on episode 57. So if you want to take a listen to him and hear his journey as an Event Hubs podcaster and broadcaster, check out that episode. Last I heard, when I listened to the most recent Event Hubs podcast, or one of the more recent ones, that he was, perfectly thrilled with the JP nerfs and thought they were completely warranted. So make sure you tune into that.
One last thing I wanted to talk about this tournament too. One of the best things about this tournament is like the how do I call it? Just like the old school, like it's kind of like a potluck. We honestly just had a bunch of food there. Sean Dude brought like he had a rice cooker full of spam musubis.
Nice.
I probably ate like 10 of them myself. It was just too damn good. I was like, wait, did everyone get one? All right, I'm gonna grab another.
Yeah.
And big shout outs to Mama Wolf from Native Wolf. She made some fried chicken, which is delicious.
Fried chicken? Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Jealous.
Yeah, so she made that, and I don't know who brought it. I think it was also Mama Wolf. I'm sorry to give out credit. I don't know 100%, but someone also made some Rice Krispie treats, and it was like extra gooey, like the best kind of Rice Krispies.
Yeah.
So big props. It was just a lot of food, and it was amazing. It's one of the best things about going to Tucson. I highly recommend anyone that could make it out there to go to just enjoy the environment, enjoy the tournament. The company is great.
I was wanting to go there because that was the week that I was like, that was going to be, I got suspended from work for something. And Scott was like, oh, you can go to Tucson. And I was like, actually, I can't because I got a flight lesson that goes till noon and then it's too far. Like I'd be like 45 minutes late. I'm not going to hold up the tournament or DQ myself to go out there. But I'll have to make it out there one of these days. I don't know. But,
last time I went out to a Tucson event, I also got to meet Mama Wolf, and it was at a Cane's Chicken Fingers. And she didn't know who we were or who I was. And like, I'm not saying like I like a big deal or anything, but more like, I mentioned that I was from Phoenix, and she was like, I remember some of her first words to me were, "You drove all the way down here for a fucking game?" And I was like, I like this lady. She's awesome.
Yeah.
Brandy was so embarrassed, and I have now immortalized that on a podcast. So you can be embarrassed every time you listen to this, Brandy. She was like,
"That's awesome." Love to hear about the supportive parents in the FGC. We had Freezy on the show a couple episodes back. It's cool of his mom to let him be on the show and then be supportive of him. I remember at actually what we were gonna talk to you about next was GameOn Expo. It's a big anime and video game convention that goes on here. Basically, I think they're gonna hit year 10 next year. And all three of us, me, Christian, and Maynard, all attended the GameOn Expo. That's what we got playing in the background here is the matches that Maynard recorded. And I remember at the GameOn Expo, like Freezy was showing me like a screenshot or a text or something from his mom. It's just like, oh, it looks like you're in 9th place right now. So yeah, shout outs to supportive parents in the FGC, man. Like we appreciate you, and it's awesome. Like that there's food and that kind of stuff going on too. Because like leave it up to a mother to not let their kids or their kids' friends not go hungry, right?
Yeah. It's like the next evolution of soccer mom, in my opinion. Like, because I don't know about you, Benny, but my generation, at least, it feels like I didn't really, like, my parents were just like, oh, it's a video game, that's cool, I guess. They tried to support in their own ways overall, but like it wasn't compared. Like if I was doing like little league or intramural soccer or something, like they would be much more, I think they would understand that a little bit better. So
yeah, for sure. I didn't go to my first Evo until I was an adult, but even then my mom was just like, when I told her I was going to go play games, she thought I was going to Vegas to go play poker. And she's like, you better watch that gambling. And I'm just like, what are you talking about, Mom? I'm gonna go play video games. Like, huh?
She knew you were money matching. Don't lie.
I mean, you can just watch how he plays Sim and be like, yeah, he's gambling.
Hey, that's thoughtful gambling. But anyway, back to GameOn Expo. So I've been going since 2019, and I guess in general, like I did want to touch on the topic of kind of like con tourneys in general, because like I think a lot of times they kind of get a bad rap, or like they're not super serious, and I don't take them as like super serious, but so back when I was in Alaska, like we'd have one anime con that was there, Senshi Con, and all of the best players would go to that, and it was a big thing for us because that was like one big place that everybody wanted to go to, being in Anchorage, Alaska, and like we didn't have a lot of big events. Like it's a stark contrast to being in Phoenix, which is a top 5 city in terms of population in the U.S. Right? Like it was like, oh, everybody's gonna go to this tournament. All the best players are here. Like we took it seriously. Versus when I first came here, and it was just like, oh, are you guys gonna play at Phoenix Comic Con? Are you guys gonna do this? And a lot of people are like, oh no, I'm not gonna play in that. Nobody goes there. If I'm there, I might. But most of the time, it's like you're either going to the con to go to the con, or you're not going to the con at all, and you don't care about the tournaments there. But I think in recent years, especially here, like there's been a lot more of the the serious players going to those con tournaments, and so in some ways, like you're gonna have definitely the casual people that are there that are gonna button mash, and you gotta no mercy to them, like they're gonna take this L, but you also have strong players like like the three of us that are going there, and we had a surprise appearance by a couple other players in terms of Akita, who's one of the top players in our state here that hasn't really made any local appearances for Street Fighter 6, but he's been tearing it up in ranked. And then we also had, surprisingly, Chris G, like that Chris G, at that tournament, and I talked to him briefly, and he was just like, I was like, well, did you just happen to be in the area? And he lives out in Vegas, and he's just like, somebody offered me passes, and I was just like, YOLO, whatever, why not? He likes coming out to cons, and in his words, it was literally anything to get out of the house. So he was like, he probably saw the prize pool too, and said, oh, $500, like I might as well get my shot at that.
That's interesting. It's almost like his name wasn't necessarily advertised or anything, but it sounds like he got the hookup, and frankly, it could have been advertised, and I bet a lot more people from our local scene who wanted to challenge him would have showed up. But I'm glad that. Oh, go ahead.
I think he didn't sign up until like the night before.
Yeah,
Friday
it was literally it was like the day before, 2 days before, and then we didn't know until Big Mac pointed it out, and then somebody was like, "Well, somebody could be trolling," and then they, I don't know who pointed it out, but they were like, "No, you can click on his profile. That's his Start GG profile. That's legit Chris G." Like,
I was for sure.
Makes sense.
Yeah, because like one of the things I was I guess interesting, and this would be like later on the feedback, but we got to pick our pools. Being that it's still a con day, I want you to enjoy the con. Go to the voice actor lines that you want to go to, so they don't want you to miss out on your favorite themes. So I'm looking at the pools, and yeah, his name was not there. And the last I checked before I saw it was like 8 p.m. And I went home. I went to go get some matches online, and yeah, that's when I saw someone pointed it out. So he was definitely in that bracket on Friday night. Who knows? Maybe he didn't even leave Vegas until like Saturday morning.
Yeah, it definitely was a last minute decision, but it was cool to see him out there. Like, it's not often you're gonna see a top player of that caliber in previous games and other fighting games come out to just a con tournament of all things, right? Like if he's coming to one of our locals and say, hey, I'm coming to TGZ, and hit somebody up, then like, yeah, that's definitely something we'd promote, but like literally nobody knew until like the day before.
We've shouted out a couple of like new names, but like there were, like as you guys said, that all three of you went, and so I was curious about your own individual results, and how did you all feel how you did on the tournament?
If you want to go first, Christian. I was going to say, Christian,
go for it, Christian. Yeah,
I can go first. Yeah, I got third with this tournament, and I felt very good about my run overall, because I know at last year's GameOn Expo, I remember not being happy at all with how I played. Like, I don't remember what I got last year. I think either like 12th or 9th, somewhere there. And yeah, I was just super down. Like after like I got eliminated, and I really like, yeah, this year felt way better. I played much better. I actually like took out twice the guy who sent me the losers last year, Dat Boy.
Oh,
No.
Yeah, like he's a cool guy. You know, it was nice talking to him. But like when I got that win, I'm just like, yes, redeemed. Like, so I felt great about that. And then losers semis, I think. You know, I faced him again, and I beat him again. It was like a 3-0. So I'm like, hell yeah! All right, I'm feeling good. All right, I'm good. I'm facing Chris G in grand finals. Let's do this. And then Akita destroyed me. But completely wiped the floor with me. But oh well. Was a
at
great
least you
run
can
anyway.
acknowledge it. Yeah, and there's some humility there, I hear.
Yeah, because you got double jeopardy by Akita because you lost to Akita earlier too.
Yeah, he beat me twice. It was 3-1 the first time, and yeah, second time was a 3-0.
Yeah.
Did you play Ryu at all, or was it mainly Guile for the whole tournament?
I played Ryu once against Akita when I was down like 2-1, and I was just like, screw it. Let's try it. And it was a horrible idea.
Okay.
Definitely, he beat me even faster.
That was losers finals, right?
That was actually winner side.
Winner side.
That was the semi to losers. And when I faced him again, I'm like, I'll just go Guile the whole time. Screw this.
Yeah. Yeah, so for those that don't know, like we mentioned him a couple times on our show as one of the top Street Fighter V players that came onto our scene with Dalsum. And then in Street Fighter 6, he's playing Sim also. He's had he hasn't, yeah, like I said, he hasn't shown up to any local tournaments that I know of at all. I don't think he's been at all, but he has been tearing it up online and ranked, and he's made a couple top 8s, I think, for the Capcom Cup online qualifiers that were happening. So that's where he's shown up that I've seen for our scene. But yeah, he's still a great player, very kind of defensive, keep away Dalsum. Just watching him, like, it gave me some ideas about things that I should probably change in my play. You know, things about being more patient and not being so willing to kind of go in. Like he's very, very passive. Like I saw opportunities where he would I would think that he would go for a combo and he'd be like, "No, I'm just gonna go back here." And I'm just like, man, I need to do that more often. Because like, yeah, I don't know. It was a good learning experience to watch him. I didn't play him at all because like, I mean, I don't know. It's Sim Mirrors. It's kind of stupid, but I did watch him. I did watch him play, you know, Freezy and a bunch of other Christian, and you know the opportunities that I did get to watch. So I was talking to John about this earlier, and I kind of liken him to Yoda in a way. He's like a master hermit that's just kind of like, I know he's out there, and like I know he's a great player, but I just don't see enough of him. And then he just kind of comes out and kind of flexes his powers, and we're just like, yeah, he still got it, right? And it's just, I think about like people like him, or if you've run into, I don't know what's Moss's CFN. Is it Moss 4K? Or
Moss
I don't know what
HD.
he's going by.
Still
Moss
Moss
HD,
HD.
yeah.
He's
So
very
Moss is
good,
out
too.
there too. Yeah, he's a great Kemi player that I don't know what's going on in his real life, but I mean online wise, like yeah, he's still doing great with Kami in this game too. And I mean maybe that just works better for him because last I heard he was living out in Anthem, and maybe it's just easier for him to play online, especially with like the net code and stuff.
Yeah. There's also like, you know, that's kind of a general theme that I've been feeling with the pockets of communities that we were talking about earlier, and that no one's obligated to come to our specific pocket of the community. So it's cool to meet them and see them, and when they come out, and hopefully they come out sooner. But at the same time, like online is good enough a lot of times. So
yeah,
it is what it is.
So
yeah. To go back to briefly to the event, the tournament results stuff. Christian, you got third. Sorry, yeah, it was third,
Yeah.
and then Maynard, how'd you end up doing on that?
I actually tied for 9th. I lost to
just outside of top 8, huh?
Yep, I lost to Freezy in winner side. That would have been our top 8 match, or right before the top 8. So winner goes in. He beat me 3-1. And then this one I got eliminated from was Flappy. And
Flappy.
Yeah, Flappy beat me. Got into the top 8 with that one. I did talk to Freezy because I am Freezy's carpool. So he did the first game was able to destroy him, just rolled him. It felt great. I was like, hell yeah. I'm feeling awesome. He decides to go back to character select and he waits, I want to say like 3 minutes. It felt long. It felt like a quite of a long period. And talking to him outside of that, he actually said, hey, I'm icing you. Like I feel like you're a big momentum player and you needed a timeout. You needed a break. So I'm like, yeah, all right. And yeah, he was able to just beat me out after that. He played a lot slower. He noticed my frequent use of parry, which was crazy. The moment I fought Freezy, my perfect parries were on point in game 1. And in game 2, like at the start of it, was also on point. I was getting perfect parries all the time. And after like the half of the first round, he just started throwing me. And I just couldn't adapt right off the bat. I started adapting towards the end of it, but it was just too late. I started blocking more, and he just was able to outspace me with his Ed. Damn that Ed. I wish we didn't have him on that PlayStation, but I'm just teasing. Good shit, Freezy. I know you're here.
I actually found footage of the icing. It's right here on the stream right now.
It's on the stream right now?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it is on the stream.
Yeah, I saw it earlier. I'm like, it's pretty easy to find. Yeah, he did indeed ice you in true I guess traditional fighting game player fashion.
In chat, he just said some may say I froze Maynard out. Can I get the sword so I can ban him for a minute?
Oh,
get him out of here.
You'll put him on timeout? Hold on, time him out. How long are we talking about? I just timed him out.
Damn, you deleted all of his messages from the chat.
I don't know. I'm not a.
Timeout does that. Timeout does that.
Yeah, did I ban? I think I banned him. Hold on. That's why. Okay, we did it. I took it off. It's okay.
Oh, that's too good.
I'm not a Twitch admin, so you're back on.
Oh, fuck. Okay.
You removed the timeout. There. Jesus Christ.
So after that, got some of the losers and fought Flappy. Same situation. Actually, beforehand, I did do some warm-ups with Flappy before his bracket. And when I was fighting Flappy, we fought at the Red Bull station because they were using all the PS5s for Tekken and Street Fighter for the tournament setups. So the only other setups we could go to was down the vendor area for Red Bull. And it's funny, like Red Bull, we had to sign like a waiver and everything just to play on some setups. But
Flappy and I just lied and said we signed it.
Like, oh no! That on the internet.
Exposed. We did do some warm-ups, and I was able to beat him in warm-ups. And I'm like, maybe it's Zarm or anything. Like, I felt good, but I'm like, all right, cool. I got to keep my guard up. So we played again in tournament, and I beat him clean first game. A lot of perfect parries, just shut down his projectile with Superman punches. He just couldn't do anything. So he goes back into character select. I'm like, oh, damn, this again? No, he actually switches characters. He switched to Jury. And I don't know if you're trying to keep that as a secret, Flappy. I'm sorry. I'm exposing you now. He switched to Jury, and his Jury's clean. He's got a good Jury.
Nice.
As I don't know, I always complain about it. I don't know if I complain about it in this podcast, but the Jury matchup for Marissa is rough. The crazy thing, though, was the momentum was good. He went straight in. So I started off really clean, got the first round, and coming into the second round, I got him already like half health. And I'm like, you know what? He's holding block a lot. I should be able to just charge fierce, get that plus frame, and go for the command grab. This guy got hit by my charge fierce, and it made my command grab whiff. And I freaked out. I was like, first off, I was like, I got the hit. I should stop this command grab and go into a combo. But no, my fingers are already in motion. I go for the command grab. I whiff. He gets a huge punish counter off of that and takes the round. And I don't know what happened after that. I just kind of cracked. He has the footage. I'm hoping he uploads the footage soon. I do want to watch it back. I remember taking a long break after that game before the next round to kind of recuperate myself. And I do recall like it helped a bit, but I still remember thinking like, damn, if I was fast enough and reacted to that hit, I could have won the game. So maybe this might be something we need to talk about later, but yeah, that's just a rough thing to kind of get over that hump, especially something that you kind of unfortunately threw away.
I get you.
Yeah.
Regarding Flappy, like me personally, like I don't know if I ever met him in person prior. I didn't even talk to him at GameOn, but it was for me, it was just kind of nice to kind of put a name to a face finally, because like I'd seen him in the Discord and whatnot, and John talks about him a lot as one of the best players, and I'm just like, have I ever seen this person? So like to actually put a name to a face, I was just like, oh okay, that's who that is.
Oh yeah,
Sam cool.
Sam's my boy. He's one of the so there are 3 players that I put as the future of Arizona Street Fighter, and like I am by no means am I an authority on that front, but I still feel the need to call those 3 out. That's Big Mac Combo, Flappy, and Sia, who's on the call right now. I consider you guys the future of Arizona Street Fighter, both as not just really strong players in your own right, but also as community leaders, because I think that you guys support the local community in a way that is reminiscent to the people that I looked up to when I was first joining the scene. And so I give mad props to all 3 of you. And Flappy, I think, is like hands down the rising star in Tucson, and possibly like I mean, he's also like a high tier competitor in any game that I've ever seen him play. And it's cool to watch him grow in Street Fighter and continue to compete at high levels like that. So not surprised that he did really well. Not surprised that he continues to just pick up brand new characters and be instantly good with them.
Quick side topic, and usually they call it like the 4 pillars. So we got 3 of them. Can I get a 4th, John?
A 4th for like the future generations of Arizona
usually
Street
they call
Fighter?
it like the 4 pillars. So I kind of
yeah. I mean, I would put Freezy up there too, but like he's in a different generation altogether. So Freezy, he's 15 years old, but like as far as like promising young people, definitely those 4 what I would say.
That's nice. Cool. That's cool. Thank you. I'm sorry. I just like, there's got to be 4. I gotta have one more.
Yeah, like,
I need it.
The 4 god, like Elite 4, or the Sushin or whatever. What is it? Byako, Seiryu, and whatever. Every Japanese anime, like they make a reference to 4 gods all the goddamn time because it's part of their mythology.
I feel like I know what Maynard's trying to reference with the 4 pillars, given we're both wrestling fans, AEW fans.
Oh, that too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice,
it's usually just like the new up and comers. I've heard it before AEW, but I mean AEW definitely brought that spark back on that one.
Yeah. Nice. No, for me personally, like, so I was at GameOn also. I was there on Friday and Saturday. So Friday I entered the free tournament. I actually won that. That was, I don't remember how people. I think it was like 9 people, if that. But they're supposed to give me a medal. They couldn't find it. They lost it, and I was like, I don't know. It wasn't a big deal. I was like, okay, cool. I won the free tournament, and I was like, do I even get anything for this? And they're like, you get medals, and I'm just like, oh, cool. He's like, but we don't know where they're at. So I was just like, whatever. It doesn't matter. But and then I did, I entered on Saturday as well. I also ended up getting 9th. I felt overall, I don't think I played my best, but I was satisfied with my placing. More so because last year at GameOn, I felt like I played terrible. But I mean, at the time with where I was in the game, like, the reasons that I lost and whoever I lost to, because that was a big bracket. It was like over 100 people. Like, the reasons why I lost last year was like I wasn't, my damage output, offense and stuff wasn't there. So when I lost, and that was the reason I lost, I didn't really feel bad about it necessarily. It was just like, well, I got shit to work on. Right, no big deal. And then this time, like, I ended up losing to Freezy first in our pool. That was an 0-2, and then when we got into the and then there was so let me go back here. So I played 2 matches, right? And then at the same time, I was playing in the CTWC, the Classic Tetris World Championship qualifier for Phoenix, for the desert, or whatever you want to call it. And I was doing really well in that, and I ended up seeding in 9th. So they have a gold bracket, which is the top 12 players, and then they have a silver bracket, which is like 13 to 24. And last year, I didn't know that they were running a silver bracket. I think I was like 17th or something, and I didn't know it until after I got eliminated from Street Fighter. I walked over there and I was like, "Why is my name in a bracket?" And I was like, "Oh, they did a silver bracket, and they DQ'd me because I wasn't there." So I was kind of bummed out about that last year. So this year, when I went to qualify, like I did really well. I had like my best qualifying score ever, and then I looked at where I was on the board, and at first I was at 6, and I was like, "Holy shit, I'm 6 in this." And I was asking around. They're like, "Yeah, everybody that's supposed to be here is here, so you might drop a little bit, but I'm pretty sure you're gonna stay up there." So I made ninth in that. So I qualified for the gold bracket, and I was set to play there. And there was a long time that I could have got my Street Fighter, my losers, whatever match finished, but I thought that Tetris was starting sooner, and so we just kept kind of holding things off, holding things off. I went and played my Tetris match, and I did absolutely horrible, but that's okay. I was just happy to get where I was at that point, and then I came and played. It's somebody that I saw in our Facebook groups, or yeah, before it was Carrie. He went by the name Toasted Beans. This time I beat him. Then when top 16 started, um, that's when I lost to Freezy. It was like the start. Was it the start of top 16? Yeah, I think that's what it was.
No, Freezy was on the
No.
winner side on that.
Oh no, that's right, that's right. No, so I lost to Freezy first. Then I had to play Toasted Beans to get out into top 16. Then in top 16, I played this Marissa player, Power Walk, and my controller disconnected at the end. Like it was I don't know if what happened with the stick or whatever. It might have been I enabled the wrong mode or something, holding buttons down. I don't know what happened. But anyway, my controller disconnected towards the very end. He was basically doing a combo on me. Would have won the game, and he held up, and he let me he let me reconnect, and I was like, okay. And then we continued the match. I think he whiffed a DI. I punished it and I won. And I think Maynard has it in the video too. He's just like, "Oh, you just had to make it dramatic." And like, talking to him later because he ended up joining the Discord. Like I didn't feel right about winning that way, but then he didn't feel right about wanting to win that way either. So I was just like, well, it's what it is. But then after that, I ended up losing to that boy's Cammy, who was he ended up having a great run, like Christian said. He ended up in 4th, and that's kind of where we ended up with that.
Yeah, it's kind of a wild tournament in that regard. Like I'm talking to all three of you who have made top 16 in that tournament, and I looked and like there were 615 people not that entered Street Fighter 6, but just 615 people that entered those tournaments in general. So that's a very large amount of people. If I could actually let me pull up the bracket right now. There's actually like
a lot of those numbers I think are Smash, but
fair.
Yeah.
There were 75 people that entered that tournament though, which is one of the biggest tournaments by far. So again, to reiterate, Christian on the call got 3rd place. Benny got 9th. TheXButton got 9th. Some shout outs to some friends of mine. The Freezy, the Wonderkins got 5th place, and then Flappy got 7th place. It's like Orange also I know him. You got 7th place. Air Jordan 43 also was worth bringing up here too.
That's somebody I was going to mention as
him.
well. Yeah,
that's another Blaze Death Blade situation.
Yeah, so I remember, because I remember him registering for like one of the free Gilbert tourneys that was happening like at the end of the month a couple months ago, and I was just like, oh, this is the guy, the Blanca that I played online that was like a legend rank at the time, and I guess he didn't end up showing, but then I talked to him at GameOn, and I guess this is the situation because I was like, do you live here? And he's just like, oh no, I think he said his parents live out here, so he just happened to be visiting and decided to register, and that's why he ended up at the tournament as well. So it's good to meet him. I didn't talk to him too much. I know some of the others might have, but again, nice to put a name to a face there.
Fighting him was probably actually my favorite set of that whole run.
Yeah, I went out of my way to watch that set on Maynard's on the youtube.com/TheXButton for props there and shout outs there and plugs there. But I went out of my way to watch that set specifically, and that was a good set. Good shit, Christian.
Yeah, that was a fun set. At that point I was a spectator.
Maynard, you mentioned earlier something about feedback in regards to the GameOn Expo tournament, and I was curious
yeah.
if, like, did you go ahead, Benny?
Yeah. So I was gonna touch on that too, because like
Yeah.
as much as I said, like, we should probably kind of rethink our I guess our general impressions about con tourneys, especially with like some of the more serious players entering. The Game On one was not without any problems. That was run by SAK Gaming, and like I know Steven, like I'll give him props because compared to last year they were kind of just running whatever, right? It was laggy setups or whatever, but they were also like the free tournament. The gaming zone actually had the cash tournament last year, and so this year SAK had the cash tournament, and they had legit PS5s, and I didn't have a problem with the setups. I don't know how you guys felt about them, but the setups that we had for the tournament were fine. I think the only thing in terms of the setups that I had a problem with was we only had one that had Ed, and Freezy playing Ed, that was the problem. They actually took it away for Tekken at one point, and we had to tell the TO. Shout outs to Ito, he was awesome. And once we told him, he's like, "I'll handle it." And he went up there and literally like grabbed the PS5 and gave them a different one. So that was one of the criticisms I had. I can't really criticize the choice of like people picking the time that they want to play, because like Maynard said, at the end of the day, it is a con tourney, and you don't want to force people to play at a certain time when it's a con first and then the tournament's there, right? Like it's not going to be like, oh, you're not going to see this panel that you wanted to go to because you're going to play in Street Fighter, right? Like we're going to accommodate those people, so that's fine. It's just it kind of skews like the pool numbers. Like the early pool had like the most entrants, I think.
Yeah.
And then the only other criticism, it's something that Maynard brought up to me later, was like we played through the first two pools, and then they wanted to seed the final two pools, and they had reached out to me, and then I think they were talking to Maynard about that too, in terms of seeding the last two pools, and both of us were kind of like, well, that's kind of odd, because if we were going to seed pools, we should have seeded them all, right? So
Also,
did you have any?
just give you a heads up here, Benny, is that on the stream for the video feed,
I
that disconnect just happened. So I watched that. I'm like, man, that sucks, because you got hit by a big ass combo during that time.
Yeah,
anyway,
I told you I would have been dead, but
Yeah.
he was just like, we can go ahead and reconnect.
You just killed him. Oh,
Yeah.
you scumbag, Benny. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to derail. Go ahead. Yeah,
No,
we're talking about criticism.
I mean, like I said, like I even told you guys afterwards. I was like, yeah, I beat this guy after the unpause, but I didn't feel right. So like,
yeah, that's a bummer. I had no idea when like at the very like deciding moment of the match. That's a huge bummer.
Yeah.
But kudos to you for handling that gracefully. Truly.
Yeah. So I mean, did you have anything else to elaborate on that, on Maynard, in terms of like the seating?
Yeah, I mean the seating was I think the big problem, and even then, reviewing it back, it's already happened, so it sucks that it happened, but it's what it is. So they wanted me to seed brackets 3 and 4. The seeding went fine on 3, like as far as seeding goes, but something happened with Start.gg or the app. I don't know how they programmed it, but the fourth pool, I seeded the people. I had like 6 people that come out to the events usually. So I'm like, okay, if we were to seed it by who actually comes out and who I know is good, here's the 6 people that I know. Everyone else, I don't know. I can't really do anything about it. I recommend random. When the brackets happened, it wasn't seeded like 1 on top, 2 on bottom, and so forth. It was 1 fights 2, 3 fights 4, 5 fights 6, and so forth. So, yeah, I don't know how that happened.
Yeah,
but like,
were they running paper brackets or something, or were they using SmashGG?
It was SmashGG.
StartGG.
Or StartGG. Yeah, the old name. And the crazy thing was too, like I think something happened with the settings, because I think Pool 4 was botched in some way.
Yeah, Pool 4 was botched because initially it was showing all 4 of the winners, or all 4 of the players getting out of Pool 4 in the winner's side.
Yeah.
For whatever. It was really odd looking, because we couldn't figure it out until we kind of like we're basically at that point already.
This was like the next pool that he's talking about, top 16 pool. So on
Yeah.
top 16 pool, there was 10 qualifiers rather than it being 8. And because there was 10 qualifiers, it made some people get buys, and we're like, what? That doesn't make any sense. And we were looking at it, and yeah, there was 4 people from pool 4 going to winner side.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's a start.gg problem or something with the settings, but I'm glad that we were able to catch that and help them correct it right before that happened. But pool 4 already happened, and all the great players had to fight each other right off the bat.
Yeah.
Which I guess that's the purpose for seeding. You don't want them to fight right away, but it is what it is, and it happened.
Yeah.
So my biggest feedback is like, hey, if we're gonna go not pooled on 1 and 2, we got to go not pooled for 3 and 4.
Yeah, exactly. Keep it the same way for everything else, and then, but yeah, I mean that was my biggest problem. But I mean, despite that, the TO that was running the stuff, Ito, he was awesome. Like, I mean, that was my first time meeting him. He was very receptive to pretty much anything that I said, like checking in, the fact that I was in Tetris. I gave him a heads up, and he's like, you know what, you told me that you're here. I know what you look like. I know that you're waiting. We'll wait for you. It's fine. So shout outs to him. He was awesome. Yeah, and then there was also a problem with like people being able to like enter multiple things. Like I think forward was entered in all 4 of the pools for whatever reason, and he had to like DQ him. That's why like when you like I messaged you and you're like, this is showing Maynard got DQ'd, and I'm like, what are you talking about? As I'm looking at this pool, and like I don't know, maybe Maynard was entered in another pool too, and we had no idea.
Yeah,
I laugh
forward.
because forward was probably entered in Smash too, so he's probably entered in like 20 pools, knowing that guy.
Yeah, forward was in every pool. He was in all 4.
Yeah.
And then Sean Dude was in like 3 different pools in Street Fighter only. He was there mostly for Tekken, and there was like an accident that happened between Tucson and Phoenix, and he was like, "Hey, I'm running late. I might not make the Street Fighter bracket."
I thought you when you said there was an accident between Tucson and Phoenix, I thought you were talking about like the FGC. Like there was.
Oh no! Like him
I was like,
driving
wait,
out.
what happened? I was like, what drama are we talking about?
And I'm like, no, it's all good. Like we'll try to accommodate you and everything, but it's like at that point is like, yeah, just DQ me a 3rd time. Like I'm like, all right, I'll let them know.
Shout outs to forward, the guest star of Absolute Guard Podcast, episode 24. We talked
Wait, what about
being an
Sean
ambassador. Oh, and Sean,
he
Sean
won
Dude's been
Tekken
on like
for
20
GameOn.
times. Yeah.
He's been on a few episodes. Sean ended up winning the Tekken tournament. Actually,
Yeah, he was actually on one of the GameOn clips on the Instagram. And it's funny because he's accepting the trophy, and he's like so shocked. His big open mouth, like like the big screaming face that he has. It's so good.
Yeah.
Doing like a dance, like acting like a cowboy with his hat when he won.
I think one of the big things was one of the Red Dead Redemption voice actors were there, and he says like that's one of his favorite voice actors. So that's why he dressed up as a cowboy.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, because they had the biggest tournament. Yeah, I think Tekken had over 100 people when I saw that bracket. So
nice, very nice.
Yeah, that was awesome, man. So, I mean, yeah, that was pretty much the GameOn experience. Like I said, for me,
I have one criticism actually. Is
yeah.
So you mentioned that you were entitled to a medal, then, Benny.
Mm-hmm.
I would recommend everybody get a medal because I got a medal for a tournament that I was in once. I'm showing that medal on the screen right now, and it is one of the most motivating things that you've ever been that like you will ever get from a tournament is to like get something tangible and get a prize. Like not even money, because money is like you can spend the money and it's whatever, but like getting something that you can keep for forever. We were talking in the previous episode with Mike, with Thrasher Mike, about like, or rather in the special features of last episode, he was talking about how a con tournament basically inspired him to get really, really good because it was his first taste of like victory. Oh, look at that medal! Yeah, Christian's got a medal. Like, check that out.
For you audio listeners, we got a 3rd place trophy, and we got the Colgate smile from Sia himself.
Yeah. There you go. That's very photogenic. Very photogenic. And I wanted to make sure we talked about that in terms of, we've been offering criticisms and feedback, but like there's also the idea of what these con tournaments represent and the positives these tournaments represent, in that they inspire people. They show people that there's more in the fighting game community. Like there's more people playing these fighting games. And so we get a bunch of brand new people entering the community or entering our Discord and whatnot. And then for the people that like who are veterans of playing these fighting games, you actually get a real idea of where you stand, not just in the competitive community, but in the general population. Because you can walk into a grocery store and be like, I'm probably the best Street Fighter player here, but the con player actually shows you that. or the con tournament rather actually shows you that.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a big shout out to Maynard. Like I'm not really big on being like an ambassador for the Discord and stuff like that, but Maynard's always talking it up and kind of just questioning people like, hey, do you want to be more competitive, or we have a group going on here, and like I was literally looking at the Discord and people were joining like throughout the day. And then that's how I even knew about the guy, the Marissa player, Powerwalk, was how he felt about it, because he joined the Discord and was like, "Hey, I didn't want to win that way, and looking forward to getting more games with you." So yeah, shout out to Maynard for that, man. Just being an ambassador for the Discord and like the community as a whole.
Yeah, and like I also think about this, and sorry, I apologize. I didn't know it. Go ahead, Maynard. Soak it up.
Oh no, I was saying just
You're
thank
the
you.
best.
I appreciate the kind words.
No, I agree. Like every time the Discord grows, I'm just like, man, this is all due to Maynard. Maynard's like the best admin that we have, like, or the only admin that we have, technically. And he moderates like every time we have like random bots, or so somebody gets their account hacked and they tag everybody all of a sudden, like Maynard is on point. In addition to being one of the primary TOs, in addition to being one of the top players in the scene. So thank you, Maynard.
Yeah. Yeah, so Freezy mentioned in the chat, he thinks about the fact that he's being the best Street Fighter player in his high school, and it kind of makes me wonder, like, man, I wonder if they held something like that at one of the high. I mean, I know that there's esports going on at the high school level, because like when my daughters were in high school, like she had some friends that were part of that, and they did mainly Smash, and then also to bring back up SAK Gaming, they were the ones that sponsored some of the high school stuff a few years ago. And we're doing things on the high school level in terms of their esports stuff. So I think they were doing Rocket League and Smash. I don't know if there was other things, but might need to talk to Steven about seeing if they can get Street Fighter going on, especially with my son going into high school next year.
I fought so hard to get some Street Fighter esports thing when I was back in my college, and it just couldn't come to fruition before I left before Street Fighter 6 came out, and probably that would have been the best time.
Yeah, I might have to be. I don't know. I might have to talk to Steven about that again. Maybe be the point man. I was joking about that too, like when they were putting in Rocket League, and I was like, is it too late to like go back into high school? Like, what do I need to do there? Like, just pass off.
I wanted to bring up one other point about the positives of con tournaments, in that like we talk about the veterans, right? But then there's also people like who are kind of on that fringe, like Freezy, that I think where he's a competitive player and he's been playing with us competitively, but he's never been to a major before, or my understanding is he's never been to a major before. So con tournaments often represent that first like taste of, I have to be on my feet for 8 hours straight and I'm exhausted, and now I have to play in this tournament. And
oh my god, my 15-year-old
then you get that taste.
legs.
Yeah, those 15-year-old legs. Yep. I don't know. They're different now. They're Zoomers, right? So they may not exercise as much as we did.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that too, like you brought up Freezy, like he did get to play Chris G, so it's just like I mean, he lost to Chris G 03, but he did get to play Chris G. And then if I remember in the Discord, he did. I was kind of just perusing through the Evo thread, and looks like he's going to Evo this year. So we'll see how that goes.
Is he fully confirmed? I thought he.
Yeah, he said something about his mom asking about PTO, and then he said his mom got PTO approved. So I'm assuming those things go hand in hand, and he's going to Evo.
One thing he did tell me was that like he was asking, his mom was asking him to cut his hair, and he was like, "I'm saving it for Evo." So I'm wondering if we get a short hair Freezy post Evo.
And I just think in general, with the fact that like the fighting game community is so much more exposed to mainstream now with Twitch streaming, and the Evo being mainstream and selling out every year, that like for the average person that sees like their the Evo stream, and like they can go to GameOn, or they can go to any like Phoenix Comic Con, or they can go to any of these con tournaments and get that feeling of being like, yeah, I'm competing with the best of the best. And that is something that, again, it inspires people to continue progressing on this competitive path. So I hope to see more of that itch from some of the newer players, and from some of the veteran players, because now they have a taste of getting 3-0'd by Chris G.
Well, I mean, And on the opposite side of that too, like I mean, as much as that we want to see that there see growth in people that come out and be like, "Hey, I want to get better." There's also bound to be people that go there thinking they're hot shit and then get destroyed
Yes.
and be like, you know what? Maybe this isn't for me, or these tryhards and their arcade sticks and blah blah blah. And there's a whole other side of that too.
We got the yin and the yang here, Benny. I want to bring
Yeah.
people in. You want to make them quit, right?
Yeah, like I said, there's no mercy. Like if you're entering the tournament, like I don't care. Like if you're gonna see this Dalsum and you're gonna eat these teleport mix-ups, and I don't give a shit. I'm like, hey, you want to join the Discord? Like, yeah, I can teach you.
So sort of related to that, actually, back at the Devils Duel tournament, there was this one player I fought, and I do like I wiped the floor with them like really pretty well. And I remember there were some people like that came up to me thanking me for doing that.
The fuck?
Yeah,
I'm just like, is this dude not well liked or something?
Oh, like his training partners were.
Oh, I don't know if it's like training partners or just people who don't like him. I don't know what that was about.
They just wanted you to put the guy in check then, huh?
Yeah.
They thanked me for beating him, like convincingly, I guess. And like,
maybe
you're welcome.
See,
like,
so thinking about that, I would have to think he's probably like the local hot shot or the local trash talker at the very least. Like maybe he doesn't win a bunch of shit. Maybe he just talks a lot of shit, and they were just happy to see him humbled.
Yeah, humble him. Let him know.
Yeah.
Tell him how it actually is, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I mean, there's always people like that got to be put in their place and like. Man.
If there's one thing I've learned in my old age, it's that anytime if you want to grow the scene, or if you want and bring in as many people as you possibly can, or if you want to cultivate a very isolated small group of like high tier competitors, the answer is always both. You want both. Yeah. You want to have an insulated group of competitors that really wants it, but then you also want to make sure that the scene is thriving and that the next generation can take hold. So always both. I mean, God damn it.
I don't know. It just always reminds me of those situations because like I don't know if it was something with the FGC that brought it up, but there was a time when I was working at GoDaddy and there was a Marvel 3 setup, and there was I was busy with work at the time, but like I see these guys playing and there was this one guy just talking shit constantly, right? Like, oh yeah, I'm pretty good at this game, blah blah blah, right? So finally, when I had some free time, I went over there and at the he had it set up in a freaking cubicle of all things, and I was like, yeah, I'll come play. And like we were going kind of even at first, and then I started, getting on a win streak, figuring out how he wanted to play, and then the excuses start coming out, bro. Like everything. Yeah. Oh, these aren't even my main characters. Let me switch to my main. I was like, okay, pick your main team. Oh, this isn't blah blah blah. My buttons are swapped, and I was like, what the fuck? Like we've been playing for like 10 games. Like, let me go fix your buttons, and then it was like, oh, this thing isn't very stable as he's putting the arcade stick that he was using on the corner of the cubicle. And I was like, sit the fuck down and put it on the table, whatever. Like, shut up already, dude. Like, I'm just whooping your ass. And then I think I ended like a 5-game win streak. And I was just like, I got to go back to work. And I just let him hold that. And like, I never saw him again. And I'm just like, yeah, kind of had to put that guy in his place.
The biggest excuse that I ever ran into, actually, it wasn't even me that ran into it. It was discussed on this show with Jess, where Jess went to the last year's GameOn, and she was beating somebody, and there. Let's be real, there is some machismo there, where it's like I don't want to lose to a girl in the video game, and Jess is, she put some time into the game, so the other guy just started talking on his phone during the match, and Jess, obviously was just like, well, fuck this, I'm gonna beat this guy, but you could tell that like. The soft excuse was, oh, I was on my phone. He was like creating an excuse in real time. But I wanted to pose that question to our guests here. Is Christian, do you have like what's the biggest or the most like dumbest excuse that you've run into while playing somebody who's completely out of their element?
I don't know if like I've ever like, I mean, I've seen plenty of like the typical excuses.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with the matchup, controller stuff. As far as like people being like put in their place, and the funniest story actually wasn't like me like being the person. It was when I was like competing for Smash for my college. We went to this local, and this guy from Orlando who everyone hates because he always like talks shit and all the time. And
Gotta have a
apparently he's
heel.
banned now, by the way. But
Oh.
like for being a not nice person. But he faces the guy who was the best in our group, this great like Samus player. He's like one of my best friends. And like I was like letting you know, it's like, hey man, like just to let you know this guy's pretty good. Like, so just be ready for that. He's like, okay, sure. He demolished this guy like 2-0 in bracket. And this guy came like over an hour from Orlando to this local just thinking he would win.
Oh wow.
And he didn't even make top 8. And he got sent to losers early by my friend like Matt. And later on, I happened to run into his Twitter, like saying, it was like, can't believe I just drove an hour to some free as AF bracket only to lose to some random Samus.
Social media and excuses. That's a powerful combination.
Yeah. So like my
Sonic Soul.
Yeah, so like my friend was just dying at that. Like from now on, he was just like, yeah, he's like, yeah, I'm just some random Samus.
Yeah. What about you, man? Did you ever have a situation like that?
I can't think of a fighting game one, but if you guys don't mind, I'm gonna take it back to League. This is one of my first competitive games.
Yeah.
I hear everybody in League is like a upstanding competitor, and they never complain about anything though.
That's a lie. That's a terrible lie. So this is at Howie's Game Shack. I don't know if you remember that venue. There's some in California, some in Arizona. This was an online tournament for Howie's Game Shack. So as long as you're at a Howie's, you could compete. So we're in Arizona playing some team in California. This team in California is top player privilege. It's the definition of it. Like everybody at Howie's like, this team's gonna win. We got to make sure this team wins.
Oh wow!
So what happens here is we get matched up with them, and we're doing it. It's called an ARAM tournament. It's all random, all mid. We get randomized characters. Everybody gets randomed, and we play it out. It's
so
really
the height
dumb.
of competitive play, then.
It's the height of competitive play with a little bit of Mario Party. But this tournament's happening, and one of our guys disconnects, and we're like, hey, this is early league, so there's like no pause or anything. We're like, can we restart? We're only like 2 minutes in. Let's reconnect and get our friend in. It's like, no, game started. Let's play it. Maybe about 10 minutes into the match, their guy disconnects. And we're like, hey, your guy disconnected. You guys want to restart it? Like, we're being good sportsmen, and we just want to give them that chance. But because they're winning, nah, we're good. We'll keep playing. Okay, cool. Maybe 5 minutes goes by. We start taking the lead. Do you guys want to restart it? Nah, we're good. We'll keep playing. And then eventually, like, we win off of this set. We just destroy them afterwards because their guy couldn't come back on. Like, he comes back in the last 2 minutes, but whatever. So they start complaining to the refs. My guy got disconnected. We can't play. It's 4v5. I'm like, yo, we offered him. Here's the chat logs. No, you guys got to restart the match. You guys got to.
Oh, so there's favoritism involved too. God damn it. Okay.
That's why they were top player privileged.
Oh man.
The best part, perfect them the next game. We lost no towers. It was a full push. It was only like a 10-minute game. It was complete destruction. Just it felt good. It was just good karma.
Nice.
Oh my God. Awesome, man.
I actually just remembered another like story. Like
hit me.
Yeah. So yeah, again, it was like when I was competing for Smash, that same friend and I, like we competed in this online doubles tournament, which it's Smash Online. It's awful.
Yeah.
We like, all right, we're set up to face this group, and we play the first game. We destroy them completely, like effortless. And then they're like, it's really laggy. Are you guys wired? Yeah, we're wired. She's like, yeah, but it's laggy. It's like, I don't know what to tell you, dude. We're wired. Like, it's Smash Online. It sucks. And he's like, all right, this is like really, really laggy. Can you DQ?
Oh, they ask you to just
They just asked us to DQ, and I'm like, no, we're not gonna DQ. Like,
Smash players also known for their upstanding competitive integrity.
It's like, and like they're going back and forth. I'm like, look, man, we're not gonna DQ, and we're not asking you to. So just play like the the set. Like I'm sure they're wired. I'm not asking if they're wired. And like we play the second game, we take like one stock and they just leave.
Oh.
They're just like, you win, bye. Like, okay, like
DQ yourselves.
yeah, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like you're not playing in the same conditions either. It's like you're both are dealing with that BS anyway. So it's like
The ironic thing is like we faced some pretty terrible connections in that tournament because Smash Online, that was probably one of the best we had.
nice.
The irony.
Yeah, like I had one more other quick story and like putting people in their place, and this was like I want to say it was my niece's birthday at my mom's house, and my sister's ex-boyfriend at the time, he had a bunch of friends that came over, like 4 or 5 of them, and I was just literally sitting, like, I mean, well, typical gamer thing, right? I was literally sitting because that's where I had the game set up. It was in my parents' basement, playing Street Fighter on my 360, and then they come down there to come hang out because like that's where they were just hanging out. They see me playing Street Fighter, and then they look at their boy Calvin, let's remember his name, and they're like, "Hey, Calvin, you play Street Fighter? You should go play him." And like at first, like he was just like, "No, man, it's okay." He's like, "No, come on, you're good." He's like, "No, man, I'm cheap." And I'm like sitting there. I heard that word, and I was just like, "This guy's about to get fucking smoked." And sure enough, I pulled out all the bullshit that I had with Honda against, because he played Sagat of all things too, and I was just rolling him. And then the best part was that his friends and my sister's ex-boyfriend were just talking shit to him the whole time. They were like, "Hey man, I thought you were good. Like I ultra threw a fireball. Like that was like the last thing I did." And they were just like, "Oh man, I thought you were good at this game." And they were just giving him shit the rest of the day. And I was living it up. I was just like, "Yeah, shut the fuck up, dude."
Did you make him watch?
Huh?
Was that a make him watch situation too?
No. Well, no. I was like, he was spamming fireballs, like just throwing no caution to the wind. And I was just like, "You're gonna get an ultra for this in front of your boys." And I was just like, "Yeah." They didn't let him move that shit down for the rest of the day.
That's great.
Yeah,
So
that was the best thing, man.
one of the reasons why I even bring up excuses in general is because oftentimes they are a way to cover up the feeling of loss, right? And like whether it's I DQ'd myself because I didn't beat me, I beat myself, right? And so I guess that kind of segues into something that I wanted to talk about today in regards to when you are actually losing, there's always different reasons for why you lose. Like there could be like legitimate reasons, like you don't know the matchup. Fundamentally, I believe that if you lose, it is ultimately your responsibility, and an excuse is a way to deflect that responsibility. But there are also just days where you just are playing poorly, or you're trying to do something and it's not working out, and you're trying to like overstep your boundaries to see what works and what doesn't. But no matter what, it could just be you're having a bad day. And that's something that I wanted to talk with the group about today, is that I think we've all had bad days while we've been playing before. And I was curious a lot about like how we approach those bad days as players, and then how we either play through them, move past them, what's our own coping mechanism, that which could very well be an excuse. Like it's not excuse isn't necessarily a bad thing, because there's also that idea of wanting to forgive yourself for losing. But I wanted to kind of just to give you guys some time to think while we're talking through this here, is that like I've had bad days recently, and I found myself being like, at the end of the day, I'm still trying to accomplish something. So the bad day could be that I'm losing at the video game, but it's still fundamentally positive for me. It's still positive in that I am practicing something and it's going to work out eventually. And that's kind of what powers me through a bad day. But I've also been in that situation where like, hey, I'm playing on ranked and I just have an enormous losing streak. I just lost 100 MR randomly. And maybe it's because I got a bad matchup spread, or because I'm like, my mind isn't there because I had a bad day at work or something like that. And, I found myself thinking, I'm like, do I play through this? And like practice my kind of like my emotional resilience of being able to cope with like having a bad day? or do I, just stop playing for now and then come back when I'm feeling better? And I was curious about how you guys handle that as players. Benny, do you want to start on that one, or do you have an
Yeah.
idea of like how you go through bad days?
Yeah, so no, that's actually like it's great that you bring that up because that's actually what I dealt with yesterday or the day before when I was playing ranked. Like I
Mm-hmm.
started out at like 1665. My objective was to get to 1700, and I don't know. It was, after all that stuff that I kind of posted in the Discord and stuff that I was working on, I was playing like the complete opposite and not doing anything that I was telling myself that I was going to try to do. Being more patient, doing certain things. Like I was doing like one out of like the four things that I was wanting to work on, and then on top of that, I was running into Jordan. Don't give a fuck constantly. Like whether it was
Oh,
his
that's your
Lily
rival,
or
dude.
yeah, or whether it was his Mano, and like um to his credit, like we used to go kind of even before, and then I think once his Lily kind of ascended into like 1700 rank, like I could barely touch him. Like he's probably won 80% of the matches. So shout outs to him. Like he's taking advantage of me. I don't know. He's in my fucking head, and it's irritating to no end when I'm like trying to get to a certain point, and like he's literally gatekeeping me. Like I win at like a match or two, then all of a sudden like I see the little picture of Mano or I see Lily, and I'm just like, is this Jordan again? And sure enough, his name pops up, and I'm just like, fuck. And I was just like, and he's like, he's in my head mentally already beforehand. And, I thought about just stopping entirely and just like, you know what? I've dropped, 7 points below where I started after like 20 matches. Like, I'm not going anywhere. And then I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to keep playing. And maybe I don't run into him anymore. Maybe I play other players. And one, I didn't run into him again, but I did end up playing other players that kind of like slowed things down. I ended up getting to where I wanted with just over 1700 before I stopped. And like I don't know, I'm kind of stubborn in that way. Like I don't want to stop. Like when I played Call of Duty, like we always had this thing where like we can't leave on a loss, and then we end up playing like an extra like half hour, an hour longer, and I'm just like, okay, now we got to go to sleep. Like somebody's got to leave. You know what I mean? And so I'm kind of stubborn in that sense, but I do in a sense try to just push through it because, like, to me, like I kind of look at it as like, well, what better time for me to kind of to to see what I'm made of than right now, right? Like this isn't a good situation. Like mentally, I'm all kinds of jacked up. Like I'm not in a good state of mind, but I might be that way at a tournament, right? Like I could lose, I could get crushed by somebody, and then I got to make a loser's run. And at that point, like I'm not going to be in a good state of mind, but I'm going to have to push through it if I want to progress, if I want to place in top 8 or wherever, whatever my goal was that day. So like for
Okay.
me, like I just
Play through
I
it.
kind of just try to put it aside and compartmentalize it,
Ooh.
and it kind of goes back to kind of like a sports thing, because like so in basketball, like you have people that are great shooters. Like I'm sure pretty much everybody knows who Steph Curry is, right? And it's just like, does he stop shooting after he's on a cold streak? No, he just keeps shooting. Why? Because like you got to put that in the back of your mind, and you just got to go back to I'm the best shooter ever. And eventually something's gonna fall. Then maybe a second shot's gonna fall. Next thing you know, NBA Jam, I'm on fire, and we're making a comeback, and we're gonna win this game, right? And that's kind of just how I kind of mentally prepare myself, and it's just like I just need that one moment. Let me get this cool mix up down or hit this combo, and all of a sudden like I'm back in it, and mentally I'm okay.
So I'm gonna ask kind of a personal question here. So I think frankly, like the way that you're approaching it is extremely sound psychologically, and it strikes me as somebody that has had the benefit of life experience. And so I want you to be honest with me here in that if you were in your 20s, because here's the personal part. You're old as fuck, right? If you were in your 20s, if you were younger and you were more hot-headed, would you be thinking about it the same way? How did you think when you were younger?
Well, my first Mad Catz SE, I broke that playing ranked. So
Okay.
I literally threw that on the floor, and I was like, "Damn, that was dumb." Now I don't have a stick.
Now you can't play. Now you can't play through it, right?
Yeah. So now I can't play through it, and I mean, yeah, that was that was probably 15 years ago, something like actually almost 20 years ago. Because that's when the kids are that young. So
Yeah.
I was a lot more. I'd say I'm a lot more hot headed. So or I was a lot more hot headed, and like I'm sure. I mean, I don't know if you look through the Arizona FGC pages here and there. Like I've always been as I've gotten older. It's like I gotta give credit to the person that beat me. Like even at GameOn, that boy beat me, and like I played him here and there in sessions, and like he has a very unique play style, right? He uses the hooligan grabs and does things that a traditional, I would say, ABC 1-2-3 Cammy doesn't do, right? Like he's not pressuring me in that same way, but it's up to me to adapt to that and deal with that. And if I can't, like I'm not gonna be like, you're a gimmicky piece of shit, right? Like, whatever, you're not gonna, get away with it. Like at the end of the day, he beats me and I have to own up to that and deal with it and figure out how to deal with it going forward. Maybe like you said, 20 years ago, I would have been like, yeah, whatever, you're just trash. Like you got lucky. But
post on Twitter
nowadays,
about
like,
a bracket that was free as fuck, right?
Yeah. Nowadays, I'm like, it just wasn't my day, and like, he got the better of me today, and that's just that's how I own up to it, because I've done that for multiple tourneys in the past, and it's like I got to give credit to the person that beat me because you beat me, and that's just how it is. I got to hold that.
Agree.
Freezy, okay. Point out. Well, real quick. Freezy says, "I was the worst when I was little. You were still little. You're still young." Like that's like my nephew talking to my dad when he was like 8 years old, and he's just like, when I was little, and I'm just like, bro, like you're 8 years old. Like what are you talking about?
Yeah, when were you little? Like yesterday? But Christian, have you ever had a bad day? And if so, how do you play through it? Or how do you deal with it? You don't even have to play through it.
Oh my god, yeah, I've had like so many like bad sessions. Like the last time I played ranked was probably actually one of the worst sessions I've had in 6 so far.
Oh, I want to give some context and background information on that real quick, because man, this motherfucker posted in Discord being like, "Hey guys, I hit 1900, right?" And then you had a bad rank session, and now where are you?
1795.
How was that bad day for you?
It was awful. It's just like Benny said, all it takes is just that one player that like plays kind of wild or something like that, and everything comes crashing down. Like your entire mood is ruined, and that affects the next game, and that affects the next game, and that literally just kept going until I just gave up. I beat like some 1300 MR player and got like 3 points and said, "We're done."
Yeah, that's what I said. Like you can't leave on a loss, right? You got to get that win. It doesn't matter how. It doesn't matter if this is like the scrubbiest player you've ever. Is it the Diamond 5? Whatever. I got that win. Time to log off. Like I feel good now.
Yeah, it's like I don't feel good, but it's over now.
Yeah.
It's over now. At least I can walk away with some of my pride, right?
Yeah. I haven't touched rank since that day either.
Oh, okay. So when would be the next time? Like when are you going to touch ranked next? Like, do you have a plan for that, or?
All I know is just eventually there'll just come a time where I'm like decide, I feel good enough. Let's try some rank. Let's try to, push back up. And thinking back to like other bad sessions, those times I do play overall well. That I do end up on a pretty decent positive, even if it's not quite what I wanted. It's still a positive. There's a tweet I remember, like a joke tweet that Broski made, where he was just like, "Hey, are you having a good session in ranked? Are you thinking it's a little too good right now?" And thinking, wow, maybe I should play a bit more. See how much here. Just stop there. That's the time where you're supposed to stop.
That's like casino mentality.
Yeah,
legitimately. Like I was thinking about that the other day. It really is like gambling, and I hate gambling. Like I play Guile. I don't want to gamble. Like
quit while you're ahead. 100 points later, like damn it.
You want to quit while you're ahead, but you also want to ride the ride the wave, right? So
You know what they say? 99% of gamblers quit before they make it big.
Oh man.
But to go like with that mentality, it's even if that like hurts my mood for sure. I have to have in the back of my mind, this is first off, this is a game, and I have multiple ways of cooling off.
Mhm.
It actually really helps when I'm playing with someone else at least in the household, like in a room, because that keeps my anger in check if I'm like having a bad session. That really helps. Can't say I've ever broken a controller. That shit's expensive. I don't want to do that. So
Especially nowadays, man. Those
Yeah.
pads nowadays, they're like $80. So
yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Do you have any advice for as somebody in their 20s, do you have any advice for somebody in their teens?
for I would say like not really good tip that's just helped me. It's a simple thing is just having that comfort game too, or just comfort hobby. Something like I'll play or do like if just to cool myself off, and eventually I do like works. Like for me, I play Doom. Like that's my comfort game.
Nice.
It's in my computer. It
Doom?
depends. Like yeah, Doom, like
the
classic
shooter
Doom.
game? Oh
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like sometimes I'll play like Doom 1 or 2, or I'll find like a random like fan wad and play that, and that works
Nice.
out.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was gonna go back real quick and just like I do get a little hot headed now. Not so much to the point I'm gonna break anything, but if my kids are around, I start telling them to do stuff like you need to go clean this up or you need to go do this.
You go Asian
So,
dad?
Yeah. Yeah, so that comes out at that point. So like if I'm on a losing streak and like G's around here, I'm like, why don't you go do this right now?
Oh, poor G.
Yeah, so that comes out. So I admit to kind of being in that way. There's nothing like otherwise like destructive that I would do. Like yeah,
Now we gotta have G on the podcast and be like, what's it like when you have a bad day? Well, the bad days are when my dad has a bad day.
oh man. So what about you? What about you, Maynard?
Yeah. I've never broken a controller. I think one of the big things for me is the fact that like growing up, I had an older brother, 8 years older, and I'm probably exposing him, so no big deal. He's a hothead, so he definitely rages out. Definitely a few consoles and a few controllers have been broken in the time that I've grown up with him. Whether it be from playing a competitive game, whether it be for me, someone else online, because we were in the era of like Dreamcast, PS2, network adapters, or a chance that I was able to beat him. So seeing him go through so many controllers and consoles, I'm like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Why would I spend $50 to buy another controller to go back to play the game that I wanted to play? Like, so I'm glad that I kind of had that experience, so I could like not have that. There's times where I will slap my stick, just the hard part of it, just because.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just gotta slap something. But never a thrown controller. No projectiles in real life. But I have been in that situation of like wanting to grind rank and keep playing even though you're on a losing streak. You're like, I can't go to bed till I get my one win, and then you're 5 losses later. And I think that was something that I had to grow from. Once again, coming from League, there was a point where like I had to keep a certain rank limit. If I wasn't in this rank limit, I would probably get kicked out. So, like, all right, I got to hit it by Saturday. I'm starting on Monday. Monday's a terrible day. Do I keep going or do I need to take a break?
Monday's a terrible day. That's some Garfield shit.
So, when I was much younger, this was 23, 24 me, I tried my best. I would try to grind it out. And I think the lesson was learned that like I play like trash when I'm like stressed out. When I want to hit a certain goal and that goal is like timed, I'm terrible at it. And I think I gotta find like, hey, when's the time I'm chill? When's the time I'm relaxed? When can I like mentally drill my mind on the game rather than thinking of a number? When can I actually learn from like, hey, try this combo out and hit it 10 times versus if I don't win the next 5 matches, I'm not going to eat dinner. Something like that. You know?
An Asian
So,
dad on yourself. Yeah.
yeah. I got no kids to take it out on.
That's okay, man. You can just come by randomly and just like, why is he so mad? I was like, don't worry about it. They just told me to clean the yard. I was like, yeah, go clean the yard then.
Gee, come wash my car. But after that point, like after I was done playing League and I started doing more like coaching on League, like I think that was probably like where I learned like I need to just take that break. I need to start telling people like, hey, you're on a bad streak. Don't worry about it. Like you can't stress out about it. It's something that if you force it, it's not going to be good. 1, for your rank, 2, for your learning experience. And then you're not going to grow from that. You're going to be so mind bent on getting that W that you're not going to know why you got that W when it does happen. Yeah. So I think that was like a big thing. Like coming into tournaments too, like the reason I want to bring this up is because I had a rough last 2 placings. Like, sure, I got 9th at GameOn, but I was on the border of hitting top 8. I was 1 combo off, and I won't lie, I beat myself up on it. Like, I definitely had one of those moments. I forgot who it was, but I remember a guy on Evo just sitting on the chair, and they always make the meme like, hey, to this day, he's still sitting on that chair thinking about what happened. I had one of those moments just sitting there, and I don't know how long I was there. I probably was there for like a good 3-5 minutes. I do recall like me just sitting there thinking about it and me losing to Flappy. And once again, coming back to, hey, these parents are cool. Flappy's dad was there. And, you know, he cheered on his son. Good job. Great game. He saw me just being beaten up. I don't know how long in, but he's the guy that patted my shoulder like, hey, don't worry, man. This guy gives me a hard time too.
Wow, that's a cool dad there. Wow.
Yeah, to your credit, like I have seen you post that in the Discord too, like when people have been like, hey, how do you deal with this or whatever, and you have mentioned that in terms of like, you know, maybe it's time for a break, or you know, everybody's gonna deal with it differently, and kind of maybe that's not for them. Like I said, like, you know, persevering through it or playing through that, like I said, that's something that I do, but I mean that's not for everybody, and it's not necessarily like, yeah, you should just fight through it, because maybe that's not healthy for you at all. Maybe that's not, you know, that's not the best thing for you personally. So I mean, there's definitely different ways to kind of deal with it, and that's I don't know, like I gotta give you credit for, you know, I have seen you talk about that in the Discord too.
Thank you. Yeah, so even after that loss, I definitely had a mute moment. Just gotta chill out, gotta take a minute. And me personally, like I didn't want to kill the mood. I just stepped away for like maybe 5 minutes. Went to go to the Red Bull booth, check if they had any Red Bulls. But you know, just getting a few breathers in, and I was able to come back. And sure, there's no more tournament for me. I'm eliminated, but hey, I'm able to have a great time, and being able to watch these matches and absorb what I'm seeing. It was a good time still.
Yeah, I think that's another thing. Also too, like depending on the setting, right? Like it's easy to kind of get into that kind of bad mood when you're at home and you're by yourself. But like when I'm in a setting like at a tournament and stuff, and like, you know, I have friends or people that I'm supporting that I still want to see do well, that are still in the tournament, that's a very easy thing for me to kind of just kind of put myself back in my place, right? And just be like, well, you know, Sia's still here in the tournament, like whatever, like everybody else is here, like we want them to beat Chris G and, you know, defend AZ as best as we can, right? So like for me, that kind of just puts me back into that mode, and kind of cures my bad mood for any kind of bad feelings that I had. Was just the fact that I still have friends in here that I want to support, and like, you know, it's not going to do me any good to sit here and sulk and be depressed about stuff when, you know, these guys are still in and I can root them on.
That's That's a beautiful arc for this episode, Benny, because we talked briefly about like excuses and what it's like to put other people in their place, and to hear you kind of double back on that and be like, it's also about putting myself in my place when I'm feeling down. I think that's really important. Like, because that's got me thinking about, like, why do people get mad? Why do we get mad or get frustrated or get upset when those situations happen? And then how do we, like, so for me, like that's actually my medicine for how I put myself back in my place. Is maybe that's just because I'm an engineer, because I do like the analytical stuff, and like I like to understand why I feel certain ways. And a lot of it has to do with like, and how I calm myself down when I'm feeling like angry about the way the game's going, or because I didn't get the outcome that I expected. And that's actually the core of it, is that I realize that my expectations don't actually match with what reality. And then I end up being like, okay, well, this is reality, and I acknowledge what that reality is, and I in turn need to curb my expectations accordingly. That's the compartmentalization that you were talking about, Benny.
Yeah.
To me, at least, is it's like, okay, well, I need to take myself out of this and realize that the reality is what I'm currently facing, and then my expectations for myself are the things that I can control, the things that I can adjust. So again, that's like some deep psychoanalytical shit. But
I
like,
actually remember
yeah, go for it.
something like, John, you told me after like one of the TGZ monthlies. I remember I was not happy with how I played. I think I got like 9th and was like sent to losers round 1 for it. And you were asking me, were you playing to win or were you playing to not lose?
Mm.
And that really like put it to perspective for me. Like, okay, just like kind of like,
It's your expectations of yourself,
Yeah.
right? You're like, oh man, I better not lose right now because I'm better than this, right?
Mhm.
yeah.
And so you end up playing on the defense as opposed to on the offense.
Yeah, so that was always like, ever since then, that was always something I kept in mind. Like, after, if like I'm losing, like, what is my mind thinking right now? And that's helped me to keep in check.
That's awesome. And that's something that my mentors in the fighting game community have passed on to me as well. So shout outs to Mr. SNK in the chat right now. He's also asked me that question, and I didn't comprehend that when he first asked it, but now I do. So it's flattering to hear that advice travels across generations.
Yeah. Oh man.
Again,
That's making me
deep philosophical shit. We don't have to go too deep in, because like then it gets into like, why are you mad? Oh, it's because of unresolved trauma from my past, right?
Kind of like lighten it for a second. I remember it kind of semi-related was back at Evo. I was sent to losers round 1. I lost to this JV player, and I did not play well at all. I played like crap. I was immediately coming from Sam Show and all that like mindset thing. I didn't play well overall. And I had my group with me, my friends, and like Melody, she's never really seen me in like a major tournament. So she didn't really know what to do, like, to help me feel better. And my friend Matt was saying like knowing Christian, just leave him be. He'll cool off. He'll like, he'll do good. He'll be all right. But then my friend Carter, who he's never been good at reading a room. He's like, oh no, you just gotta like pat him on the back, just encourage him, and he'll bounce out of it. And he's like, Carter, that's a terrible idea. Do not do that. And I come over, and Carter's like patting me on the shoulder really hard because he's 6 feet and really makes. Don't worry, man, you got this. Like, and I don't want to snap at him because he's my friend, but like it was like before point, I'm like, please don't touch me right now.
Because you can sense how disingenuous that is, right? He's just trying to make you feel better without actually understanding why you don't feel why you're so angry, right?
Yeah, it's like I just needed time, and eventually, like, I did cool off and played much better for the rest of my run. But it's like he just did the exact opposite of what he should have done.
Yeah, Mary knows by it now. Like, especially like when she sees me playing, and like if I'm not in the one, she knows not to like interrupt me, but then she also knows like if I just happen to lose, because I curse a lot, and like she'll know to kind of like keep her distance or not to be like, oh, you'll get the next one. Like, I'm not for none of that. Like, I don't want to hear any about.
Yeah. It's about giving you the space to be able to process it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'll get over it eventually. Just like, yeah, just let me go. But I mean, yeah, to my point, like I said, like I think the biggest thing for me, like I said, when it came to like supporting friends, was like being at Evo, and like I mean, that's been the only major that I've been able to attend when I was doing that, and just having other friends there. Like, even if I had a shitty performance myself, it was just like seeing my friends there, and knowing that I got to go support them. And because there was one year, I want to say it was the last year that Street Fighter 4 was there. Like, everyone in the Alaska group, like except for one person, didn't make it out of pools. Like, we all played terribly, but we all rallied about that one guy that was like his best tournament run ever. And like, I just think about, like, man, imagine if I was like sulking and beating myself up over the fact that I didn't do well, and he saw that. Like, how would that have affected him? Whereas the
Mhm.
fact that we had whatever 5 to 10 people that were just like constantly cheering him on and had his back for the run that he had. Like, I mean, I think he ended up losing like the next 2 matches anyway, but it was just the fact that like we were there to see him get out of pools for the first time, and like have his back. Like, that was a big difference maker, I think, for him.
That's like, I find that to be the wisdom of age as well, Benny, in that you realize, at least this is something that I realized since in getting into my 30s, is that I am not the main character in this world. And so you like, that's it. It's not always about me. Sometimes it's about other people, and being willing to understand that, own that, and then take that forward and be able to mentor other people or be able to support other people. I think that that's
Yeah.
probably one of the most emotionally healthy things that I've learned over the years. And so it's fantastic to hear that verbalized from you as well.
Yeah. Well, I think part of that too is also having kids, and then trying to like, you don't want to convey that kind of negativity around them, especially with G2 playing fighting games too. Like, he's entering tournaments. I mean, whether he's going to want to continue to do that going forward, like, he's interested now, but I mean, I don't know what he's going to want to do. But I don't want to kind of cultivate this thing where like, oh, this game's bullshit or this character's bullshit. Like, he understands, like, there's frustrations with it, but I always try to kind of correct him in the sense that, what, there's ways around this, and like, there's ways to deal with what these players are doing, or what these characters are doing, and how to how to combat that. And like, you gotta be better. Like, you gotta learn how to improve, and to have that kind of mindset, instead of kind of just making excuses for yourself for the game or the character or the matchup or whatever. It's just like, that's something that I think I learned from Rick and Scott, from the second Rewired tournament. So that's the one where I ended up beating Ernest to get out of the pool in winners, and then I went to go play on the stage the next day, and I played what's the guy from Vegas, Coup d'etat, um, and he was playing Bison up until that point, and then he picked Mika against me, and he destroyed me. And I walked up the stage pissed off, and I was complaining to them. I was just like, "Oh, he would play Mika." And then I think Rick Dog just straight up told me, he goes, "Well, you could play that character too." And I was like, "Well, shit." I was like, "I'm just making excuses for myself at this point." And, there's nothing stopping me from playing those characters too if I wanted to.
Agree. Agree. It's this weird balance that you have to find as a competitor, I think, where like you have to be willing to, you have to want it enough. I think we talked about that on the last episode, and that like you have to truly have that competitive drive to want to win and to hold yourself to a higher standard. But at the same time, and this is advice that Mike gave me and that has resonated with me, and frankly, he gave it to me like last year, so it's not like I've like have been like some wise hermit here. It's something I'm still learning to this day. Is that you have to be able to forgive yourself for your losses. because only then can you really, because if you're blinded by anger because of unrealistic expectations or because of bad matchups or because you're having a bad day, you do blind yourself from being able to actually improve. And so, like, I've been in situations like that where I'm so upset that I lost, or so bitter or unable to cope and comprehend why I lost, because you know, and I could very well instead take a positive attitude and then take a more receptive attitude and be able to learn from my mistakes. Um, so it really comes down to being able to forgive yourself, but also you have to be hungry. You have to know that you're capable of more, and being able to tread that fine line and then, strike that balance so that way you can build up the emotional resilience to cope with when you do have those high expectations of yourself and you fail to meet them. Man, that's the heart of a competitor. That's why the top players are the top players. That's why Driftwood can go from, not playing for years and then making fourth compared to people that have been playing the game for, since launch.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, like it's somewhat cliche, but like, losing is part of winning. Like, you got to learn how to lose in order to kind of get over that hump. Because I mean, this isn't combat sports and stuff where people, like, there's undefeated records and stuff. Like, everybody in the FGC has lost at some point to some player, whether that player is superior to them or whether there was some random Joe Schmo that kind of came out of nowhere and was just like hit them with some tech that they've never seen before, or, has a unorthodox play style. And like, you've got to learn how to deal with that and learn from it and move on.
Fucking Christopher Nolan, man. It's not how we lose, Master Bruce. It's how we pick ourselves back up. Cool. Well, usually I close this out by asking, like, what is footsies to you guys? But I think I've already asked both of you all. So I'm trying to think of another, like, random question that people that have already answered that what is footsies question.
Before we do go to closing statements, I do want to do a quick update real quick.
Oh yeah, what's up?
Yeah, so X Championship Series actually just got a huge bump in the pot. We had a anonymous edition, or I don't want to call it a donor, but I don't know. Anonymous
Booster?
added, $500 to the pot. With that added to the pot, I was able to change it to where everyone that qualifies does get some sort of payout. I'm taking $100 out for the people that tied in 7th and 5th place. So that's $20 for 7th place and $30 for 5th place. And then from there, the rest of the pot will be split up by percentage, with 4th being 10, 3rd being 15, 2nd being 25, and 1st being 50% of whatever's left over in the pot. So that's a huge bump up. I had told everybody over at GameOn about it, especially with people joining the server. So I'm real excited for this upcoming tournament, which is a Z-Axis / Secret Labs tournament this Saturday. We are going to have Dead or Alive, Tekken, and Street Fighter all Saturday. Big shout outs to Dragon Ninja for also helping me with this. He's actually going to run all 3 brackets. So the cool thing is that for me personally, usually having the TO, I'm going to be able to free up that part of the mind space and hopefully give everybody my all.
No more excuses, right? No, I'm just kidding.
And then one more reminder, due to GameOn, we also have that online bracket that's going to happen at the end of the month, the 30th. So that's going to be interesting for me. This is my first time hosting an online tournament on start.gg. So fingers crossed that nothing bad happens and it all runs smoothly. But real excited for those 2 tournaments. And we still have that last chance qualifier plus the big grand finals on April 13th in Casa Grande. So just wanted to give everyone a reminder on that. So thank you.
Yeah, shout outs to Anon for that. That's huge. That's something that, I don't know. It's crazy to me that, like, people have this much faith in our community now to be able to put up the big bucks, and hopefully we show them, that this community is worth supporting. I feel like everybody to this day, like everybody on the podcast that's been on over the years, everybody that plays in the Spiral Series Discord, on the in the lobbies and whatnot, or everyone just who contributes to the community, even the people outside of our little pocket of the community, as we talked about on this episode today. And like everybody finds their own way to support, and I think it's super cool. So
Yeah.
Cool. Well, this has been the Absolute Guard Podcast, episode 77. You can find us on Twitch at twitch.tv/Spiral Series. Wait, hang on. We got to do shout outs. I didn't do shout outs yet. Sorry. Christian, any shout outs on the way out here?
Sure. Yeah. Shout out to my wife Melody as usual, and shout out because I mentioned them multiple times. Shout out to my buddies Matt and Carter. They helped me, tolerate playing Smash for so long, and love those guys to death.
Yeah. Before we get to Maynard, I would say shout outs to old age and life experience. I mean, I honestly I don't know if I would have been able to kind of like verbalize or even like put that kind of thought process together, John, but like you saying that like really kind of put that in perspective, and it's just like, yeah, that's kind of the reason why I am the way I am nowadays, is because of those past experiences and dealing with those situations in the past. And and like I said, like having kids and doing all that stuff, and wanting to kind of have that have them have the right mentality, especially like my son G, when it comes to fighting games, because he'll be like, oh yeah, this or this character, and I'm just like, no, like you can't have that mindset. We got to change that up. So shout outs to old age and life experience.
That is something that I want to talk through in a later episode. Stay tuned for the block that we have on mentorship. That's actually my secret non-footsies conversation in the future.
So. Yeah. What about you, Maynard?
Shout outs to my future wife. Shout out to my future kids. I want to apologize to my future son for making him wash my car when I lose my match in the new Ride MMO. But big shout outs to Freezy for competing so well at GameOn and for helping me coach through some of my matches. Big shout outs also to Flappy. He did some of the recordings as well. I haven't got them up yet, but I will be adding them on to the playlist as well. So we'll be having a lot more matches from Game On, and being able to watch them back is such a big plus, and help with the growth there. Yeah, big shout outs to everyone here. Absolute Guard and Spiral Series it's been a big improvement in my life, and helping me with growing in games and keeping my mentality strong. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I also said, I said earlier, like, the supportive parents, supportive spouses is always great to hear too, because like I've heard of those horror stories where spouses don't want them to game, or they're like, how do you deal with your husband or your boyfriend that wants to play games? And I'm thankful. Like I know that's something that a lot of people have told me, like, oh man, you have a wife that's supportive, and and I'm thankful and blessed for that. And then it's just like, it's always great to hear, people like Christian or Thrasher with his wife and stuff like that. You and Jess, John, and like stuff like that, to have supportive partners that are not like, oh man, gaming, oh man, that's a kid's thing to do or whatever, right? Like, this is our thing to do, right? This is something that we grew up on and is our hobby. It's something that we have fun with. It's something that, for a lot of people is their own kind of way to cope with life and other things, work and all the other bullshit that comes with it.
Agree. And man, this has been an emotional episode. I wanted to shout out Jack Daniels for the record, but
we need a sponsor.
I will leave this on a community focused thing here, in that we talk about unsupportive spouses, and this Reddit post that I have on the screen right now is of a wedding cake of a bride dragging a man away from the groom away from a TV showing Street Fighter V, right? And this was actually the wedding topper for a local in our scene. Shout outs to Munchie.
Yeah, I was
also
say.
The foster.
Yeah, that sounded familiar.
Yeah, and frankly, that shit was fake. Like it was real cake and everything, but like everybody was like, "Oh my god, fuck that wife for pulling him away and everything." He was like, "No, it's a joke," because his wife is also very supportive. Like we have very supportive spouses in our community. So, just a shout outs to Munchie because he fostered my my cat Stella, who has appeared on this podcast many times, and some of your cats too, right, Benny?
Yeah, 2 of my cats. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So there's your levity on the way out. This has been the Absolute Guard Podcast, episode 77, with John, Benny, Sia, and the X Button. You can find us on Twitch at twitch.tv/Spiral Series, YouTube at youtube.com/Spiral Series. I have already said this, but you can also find us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify under Absolute Guard. To all of you watching and listening, we appreciate all of you that have liked and subscribed. I shouldn't have read that part either, but shout outs to Jack Daniels. Have a good night, everybody.
Have a good one.
Good night, guys.
Have a good night.
Oh man.